Successful mothers are not the ones that have never struggled. They are the ones that never give up despite the struggles. Sharon Jaynes. You have the power to be the boss of your own life. I'm your host, Monica Allen. I'm a wife, mom, entrepreneur, best-selling author, lifelong learner, and your biz bestie. I have a love and passion for all things small business. Growing my own company from $700 to over 7 figures annually, my goal is to bring you inspiration, business-focused topics and tips, encouragement, and a community that helps you launch, grow, and scale your business, whether you are a dreamer, a side hustler, or a seasoned entrepreneur. You are listening to the Become Your Own Boss podcast. On today's episode, I just wanted to share with you what's been my life for the past couple of weeks. Spoiler alert, it's been a whirlwind. If you're a mompreneur juggling kids, a business, and everything in between, grab your coffee or maybe that glass of wine because we're about to talk about the joys and struggles of being a mompreneur. Now, truthfully, this was not my topic for today, but this has been the past couple of weeks of my life, and I just had to share this with you. And I know I have many guys who listen to this podcast, but don't tune out. Don't go anywhere. Stick around because if you have a woman in your life who is running a business and juggling mom life, you can help a girl out. And you may just learn some things to help you out too. Let me just start by saying that as of today, I have survived the first 2.5 weeks of the school year. Barely. But I'm still standing, though sometimes I also find myself dozing. We've got one that just started high school and one in the 5th grade, which is considered middle grades in his school. And let me tell you, the school year is already off to a running start, quite literally. From volleyball practice pickups, the actual volleyball games, to figuring out what on earth is needed for their various classes. I've been on the road, on Amazon, at Target pickup, and in my office, trying to keep it all together. And speaking of the business, though I'm in the thick of mom mode, suddenly I feel like all the most brilliant business ideas have decided to flood my brain all at once. It's like my creativity is directly linked to my level of busyness. I wonder if that is a thing. But with all of these new ideas, I'm also wrestling with that very real issue of bandwidth. How do you get it all done? How do you prioritize when everything feels urgent? Today, I want to share a few thoughts on how I'm managing, or at least trying to manage, this delicate balancing act. Because if you're feeling anything like I am right now, you might be wondering how to make it all work without losing your sanity in the process. Let me just say I have a great husband and my kiddos have a great father. Ethan is also my business partner, but he has found himself knee-deep in a new business that he really did not plan to create. And I'm going to have him on the show to talk about it soon when he gets off the road from speaking, teaching, and consulting. That being said, he's on the road, I'm here, and I'm extremely happy for him. But the juggle back home is real. These past couple of weeks, I have felt like I've had a second job. And though I'm not sure if all school systems are the same, my kids' schools have notifications coming left and right. Notifications around grades, classes, tryouts, meetings, schedules, practices, etc. I guess it is good that they communicate. I would rather that than the opposite. And I don't know who said it, but someone stated parenting is the hardest job on earth. And I agree. And we're not even talking about the actual raising of children in this episode, which is a whole other really large topic. Let's talk about bandwidth first. Here's the thing. I've got so much I want to accomplish for Zeus's Closet and this podcast. But the reality is there are only so many hours in the day. I have found myself in a constant negotiation with time, trying to squeeze in moments for brainstorming and planning between the demands of school and home life. And I know I'm not alone in this. When I chat with other mompreneurs, I realize that many of us are riding the same roller coaster of trying to grow a business while managing a household. So, what's been my approach? First, I'm embracing the power of prioritization. I'm even more focused on asking myself a simple but powerful question. What needs to get done today? Or as it is outlined in the Become Your Own Boss Planner, what is my one thing for today? This is not what I'd like to get done, but what absolutely can't wait. And here's the thing. Sometimes the answer is a school form that needs to be signed or something I must get ordered for one of the kids. A lot of times these days, it has nothing to do with business. Next, I found that planning out my day the night before has been a game changer. Now, things don't always go as planned the next day, but I'm making sure that I do a brain dump of all the things I need to get done so I don't have it weighing me down when I go to bed. I'm getting up earlier in the morning so I can get some focused work done before I get my day started. And then I switch gears to tackle the mom stuff, getting the kids off to school. I do drive both our kids to school, which I know is something I don't necessarily have to do, especially for one of them. Technically, she could take the bus, but I find this to be a great time to talk, catch up, and listen to what's on their minds. Sometimes the rush of the evenings with homework and activities simply doesn't allow for that. It's not perfect, but it helps me feel a little more in control. It helps me feel like I know what's going on with them, or they can share some things with me that they may not get to share with me the night before. Or they may have forgotten because they're tired or they finished practice in sports and so they don't want to talk about it at that time. I also find myself trying to squeeze in work where I can. For example, the other day, Imana had a volleyball game and there was a game at 5 and a game at 7. So I thought, between the games, I'll get some work done. But unfortunately, I forgot my phone at home, so I didn't have my hotspot. And though I didn't quite get my mission accomplished that day, it was definitely a thought process of let me figure out a way to squeeze in just a little bit of work between her 2 games. So we have to be flexible with where and how, or I should say for me, I have to be flexible with where and how I work sometimes because there are certain things that I have to get done. But I also want to be there for the kids, for all of the things that they are doing. Another thing I've done is making sure the kids do their share of chores around the house. They've been doing their laundry for a while now, but also folding their clothes, putting them away, loading and unloading the dishwasher, and cleaning up after dinner. But let's be real, perfection isn't the goal here. I've had to let go of the idea that everything needs to be flawless, which I let go of that idea a long time ago, but even more so now. Whether it's the business, though we do our best to keep customers happy and to, of course, get things done timely, or how well the school year kicks off. For example, I was so focused on getting Imana settled into high school and running all around, just checking all those boxes, making sure all the forms were filled out and schedules were done and all of those things. I ran out of bandwidth to get Legends school supplies ordered. I sent them in a week late and I felt bad. But you know what? The world didn't end, as Ethan pointed out to me. He's like, it's going to be fine. The world's not going to end. And I got it done. And like most school years, they don't even need everything on the supply list. Point is, it got done and that's a win. That brings me to my next point. Leaning on your community. I can't emphasize enough how much it helps to have a network of fellow moms, entrepreneurs, or just supportive friends who get it. Whether it's sharing tips, venting, frustrations. You know, one thing I love to share with my friends and I love for them to share with me is new recipes because I get tired of eating the same thing. And so if somebody's tried a recipe and they like it, they think it's good and they share it, that's amazing. I love that. Also, simply knowing you're not alone, having that support system can make all the difference. A friend and I created a Google Calendar to share so we alternate picking up our daughters from volleyball practice. As her husband stated the other day when I thanked him for bringing Imana home, he said it takes a village, and it really does. And I'm blessed to have my mom and my village. My mom works in our business with us, so sometimes she'll go pick up Legend from school because it's right around the corner, and that's very helpful. So having that village is such a blessing, and I'm so grateful. I can remember when we had our first child, when we had Imana, I turned down some of the help that was offered to me. And it wasn't that I was trying to be this strong woman, but I did not want to feel like I was a burden to someone. What I realized through that process, though, is that people don't offer to help you if they don't really want to help you. So if someone who loves and cares about you is offering you a helping hand, take it. Also, if you're listening to this and you're nodding along, share your own stories with me. What's been working for you? Where are you struggling? Let's create a conversation around this because we're all in this together. Being a mompreneur can be hard, so let's stick together. You can email me at monica@monicaallen.com or DM me on Instagram. I'd love to just chat with you and see how it's going for you. I'm also in the process right now of training our new VA. We're in the thick of that. And I know it will ultimately lead to so much help. She's already a lot of help, but when you're training someone, it can be really draining and it takes up time, which is fine, but we're in the thick of that. And I'm also working to get an intern and at some point to get another pair of hands to help me at home. But these things, as I mentioned before, take time. I'm extremely cautious, especially when someone is going to be in my house. As I wrap up, I want to share some things that's really been on my mind. You're probably saying you've already been sharing all this stuff on your mind, and that's true. But it's this particular phrase or thought, and that is, this phase is temporary. Despite what feels a bit like chaos right now, I know this phase is temporary. And I learned this from my friend Nicole when I was nursing Imana a long time ago. And it's still true today. She would always tell me it's only temporary. And I know this craziness of the school year kickoff will settle and we'll find our rhythm. But in the meantime, I'm realizing just how precious time is. Our daughter has just 4 years before she heads off to college, and our son has 8. I know those years will fly by, just as the ones before have. I know I've said this, I think, on the past 2 episodes or maybe even 3, that I feel like I just dropped her off in kindergarten, and now she's in high school. So my last point is I've become very selective about how I spend my time. Take last night, for example. I had signed up for a local podcaster meetup. I truly enjoyed doing this podcast. And typically this would be something I would usually jump at. And I signed up for it, so I really wanted to do it. But when it came down to it, I chose to have dinner with the kids instead, connecting with them, being present, because that time is irreplaceable. And I'd rather do that than spend 30 minutes getting there in the car, connecting with people that I don't really know that well. And I know that can be a valuable thing. I recognize that and understand that. But then 30 minutes back and my kids eat dinner by themselves, I just didn't want to do that. So I didn't go to this podcast meetup. God willing, down the road when they're off in college, and hopefully this podcast will still be going, I can do things like that. I will do things like that. But right now, this is the time. This is where I am. And like I said, don't get me wrong, this podcast and my business mean the world to me. But my family, they're my first priority. I can't get this time back, and I'm committed to making the most of it. As Michelle Obama said, at the end of the day, my most important job is still mom in chief. I love this, and I can't help but agree. I will say, though, in the meantime, I'm still holding on to the excitement of these new business ideas and giving myself the grace to tackle them as time allows. They will get done, and they will get out into the world. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for letting me vent and talk about this past 2.5 weeks of craziness, as honestly I adjust to my daughter being in high school and her desire to be involved in many, many activities. And it's funny, I often talk about this, but my mom reminded me that she's so much like me. I was in so many activities in high school, and I loved every minute of it. And she is following in my footsteps. Thank you for listening. Again, I also would love to hear from you too. Let me know about topics you would like me to cover on the show. Or again, how you're balancing it all as a mom or even a dadpreneur. Lastly, I know you're busy, but if you can take a moment to rate, review, subscribe, or simply share this episode with a mom out there, that would be great. Remember, It's okay to prioritize your time, and that includes carving out moments just for yourself. I'm going to go get a massage next week. That's going to be me carving out time for myself. It's okay to ask for help and accept it, and to take things one day at a time. Perfection isn't the goal. Being present is. Or at least that is where I am right now. I want to be present. Normally, I'd wrap up this episode, every episode, by reminding you that now is the time to level up, leave a legacy, and become your own boss. But today, I just want to say this. Moms, we've got this. And it really is okay to put boss on the back burner on medium heat sometimes.